Many of our children actually believe, and are in some ways the signals in society teach them that you're either born smart or you're not born smart. Right? But we have to make sure that our children know that smart is something that you get. And you get there through hard work and effective effort in your classrooms. And the adults will teach our children that. And I think it's critical at all levels, but at middle school it's most critical because they start to tune out a little bit in middle school. Yes. And student efficacy, if you have that orientation towards getting smart, that's all about how you as a student are owning your own learning. Yes. You are an active participant. This is your job, this is your schooling, this is your learning. You have to own it. And so involving the students in their own learning, making sure they know what they're good at and what they're not good at.
Sure.
I'm good at reading, or I'm not so good at reading, or I'm not so good at math right now, but here are the things that I'm working on, the strategies. That's really important. Secondly, that they know not only how they're doing, but all those strategies, and they monitor those strategies as they go along, week after week. You know, I know that I need to study better at night on this, or I know that I'm really good at adding fractions as we did in 4th or 5th grade, but this multiplication and division of fractions has really got me stumped. That they know that, and they're an active participant in that journey.
Sure.
Right? So our middle school kids need to stay right on that pathway, and we need to make sure that they're involved. They own this trajectory.
Right, and that's good. That self-monitoring makes a difference. Because if we're working on a big project, in a corporation, we have to be able to self-monitor ourselves. So teaching those skills, that skill set, is so very important, so that they do feel that, like you said, that I was born, you know, not knowing.
Right.
That there's something that I can learn, and so that's very good. I'm glad to hear that. Now I know Dr. Seals had some questions in reference to parental involvement, because we touched on early childhood, we touched on the testing, we touched on middle school life, and so we want to know parental involvement. And I'm certain you, as you go and talk to other heads of education, that issue comes up. And so Dr. Seals, I'm going to let you have you at this time to bring up those things that you knowing, because you've worked at the college level and you see almost the end result, as I was seeing at high school. And so parental involvement.
Well, I would thank you for the opportunity to ask a couple of questions here.
Sure.
I've been aware, like all of us have, that there's supposedly a relationship between student academic success and the involvement of their parents. For a long number of years, I haven't felt we put enough emphasis on parental involvement at the local school level.
Right.
And I have to refer you back to early 80s when I was president of the Christina School Board. And one of the issues we had one year was trying to get the union to put language in the contract that would require the teachers to come to at least 3 parent-school meetings per year. The union resisted that and said, no, we only want one. The requirement has to be only for one meeting that the teachers could attend. If they want to come to others, fine, but we will not allow you, the school board, to tell us how many meetings our teachers have to attend. So we ended up having just one meeting referred to in the contract. Fast forward to 2010, I was writing an article on parental involvement, and I went back to Christina, to the superintendent, and said, oh, by the way, is there language in that contract having to do with teachers being involved with parents and coming to parent-teacher council meetings or PTA meetings? And I was told, no, there's no language. We have no language in the contract having to do with teacher expectation relative to parental involvement. I think that's a mistake, and it just seems to me local school districts have a responsibility to highlight that expectation on the part of teachers. My question is the Department of Education doing anything to ensure that teachers contribute to the parental involvement process, and as a minimum come to a certain number of PTA meetings per year? Is that a matter of concern to the department? And if so, what is being done?
Sure. So first, it is absolutely a matter of concern. And it's a matter of concern because our parents are our children's first teacher, and they're their teacher forever. Right? They are the teachers who are with our children throughout their lives. And ensuring that our parents are involved in the child's educational trajectory is critical to that child's success. I would like to take a step to the side. I want to talk a little bit more about that. But first, I'd love to just highlight that there is a question for me about how is the best way to do that, right? Because what I have seen and experienced as a parent, long before I got this job, is that my children's teachers here in Delaware have always been willing to jump on the phone, to email, to invite me in, invite my family in, and other families to have that conversation. And so, regardless of whether or not it has existed in a contract or in a regulation, we are seeing our teachers do that work. And I have experienced that firsthand, and so I applaud the educators for doing that work. That said, clearly we can do better about that. And so I'd like to highlight two things. One is that I think there's a question to be asked about what parent involvement means. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I struggle when people define parent involvement as I showed up to this evening event and sold cookies for my child's school, right? Or I came to this this fall festival.
Yes,
These are good things. I don't want to discount them. They're good, but what happened on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night when that child came home from school? Did the parent know what questions to ask? Were they on the same page about the homework and the tests? Mm-hmm. Was the parent communicating with the teacher as the child was struggling? And was the teacher communicating back and providing opportunities for advancement for that parent and for that student? As in, here, try this with your child. I think this will help. Or, hey, your child struggled today in math class. Here is something that you could ask them tonight. Right? Those are the types of parental involvement that I would call incredibly authentic, right? Because it matters for that child and their educational journey. And it's also the parent involvement that flies under the radar that we never hear about. It's the work that our teachers do every single day that they rarely get credit for. It's not about the 500 people that showed up at the fall festival no more. It's about the 9 p.m. phone call that happened between the school counselor and the parent to talk about the struggle that the child was having in 5th period math. And so I'd like to be able to define parent involvement as that really authentic engagement in the child's learning trajectory, in what they need to be successful. And with that said, we as a department are constantly looking for innovative practices, and this year, and to use an example, this year we have put some funding around this as well. And so we offered the opportunity for the districts and schools to apply to the department to access a funding stream to do new and creative and deeper, more authentic parent engagement opportunities. And we have funded a number of those opportunities. And I think that's exciting. I think what's critical then is that not only do we fund those opportunities, but we as a Department of Education have a responsibility to make sure that what we do is to capture the learning. What worked about what we funded, what didn't work, and let's be able to scale what worked. Right? I'd like to touch on one other thing, and this may be a little bit of a touchy subject, but I'll bring it up. It's just that we have to ask if all of our schools and all of our educators are welcoming the type of authentic parent involvement that we all want. Right? It's much easier to invite a parent in to read to a student, to run the school store, to come to the fall festival. That is much easier than to welcome that parent in as an equal partner in the learning trajectory that child is on. Right? Because that equal partnership has to be one where it is a deep partnership, where they're communicating constantly, and there might be tension there.
Yes.
Right? The parent says, my child's struggling, and how are you as a teacher helping my child to move forward? And the teacher says, yeah, here's how I'm helping, and I need your help too. And that's a relationship, that's an authentic relationship that goes far beyond some of the more superficial.
Right.
And I think we have to constantly ask if our educational community is taking that sort of orientation and acting upon that orientation to welcome that level of authenticity.
That's a good.
Well, I appreciate that response, and I certainly would agree that we need to give more attention to what we mean by parental involvement. But I'd also say that we ought to look at this problem in the context of some real problems that exist in the urban community, and the fact that we have so many parents in Wilmington who don't come to board meetings or monthly board meetings, who don't come to parent
Events.
teacher-child conferences, who feel alienated to a large extent from the school districts, in part because we have 4 school districts that have divided up the city of Wilmington, and people have not been able, since that division took place, to develop a sense of ownership of the schools district. And for a variety of reasons, we have low income, especially minority parents, who just don't have a strong identity with the school district. And that's a real problem that I think we need to continue to focus on, even while we need to also look at more closely what we mean by parental involvement and develop activities to achieve objectives that relate to that definition.
May I touch on that for
Sure,
a minute?
sure.
One of the things that that maybe goes unnoticed by many parents is that a lot of our parents, especially in urban environments and unfortunately disproportionately in urban environments, those parents did not have successful school experiences.
Yeah.
So now we're expecting and asking parents to engage in school experiences when they struggled in school. And so I think that that's on us as an educational community to open the doors in a welcoming way that makes it easy for parents to step in that door, and that we expect our parents to step through that door. There is a shared responsibility there that we have, as an educational community, have to open those doors, and that we have to make it so that they can come through and engage in their child's trajectory learning, and that parent has to take the responsibility to do that. And I appreciate the challenge that you are highlighting, that can be very challenging. And as you noted, with our city of Wilmington, many of our parents may have a long way to travel to access their child's school.
Yes. Okay, well, I tell you, I'm very excited, and I'm really elated for having the two of you on the show. It's just been remarkable in terms of how we've been able to sit here and dialogue, and I'm sure our viewing audience has really learned a lot this evening. And the questions that my favorite educator has put together highlighted a focus on setting a fire to what we were supposed to be doing here. And I mean, both of you on fire in terms of your visions, in terms of where we're going. And I just want to say, I'm just so proud of the fact that we've had you, both of you, from your busy schedules to come on here on a Sunday evening and to share your visions. And one of the things that has really struck me, and I'm just so impressed with what you said as it relates to leadership in terms of how we can make our schools inviting. And I think, Dr. Seals was speaking on what he'd like to see done, but more importantly, you've come up with some ideas as well. And so I think that we need to listen, particularly our viewing audience, to also, if they were here, to commend both of you for this wonderful educational evening. And I'm just proud of where we're going with this. And Ms. Pritchett, thank you so much for those questions.
Okay.
Well, this ends our show for this evening. And we'll be back the second Sunday of the next month. And we'll again have some more exciting individuals coming on to talk about education. Again, thank you so much.